From the Aero Sports Tennessee home office along the banks of the Stones River in the heart of Rutherford County, this is the Coach Will Krieski Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Krieski. Now here's your host and play-by-play voice of the Warriors, Chris Bosen.
Well, welcome to episode 11 of the Coach Will Krieski Show here on Aero Sports Tennessee. I'm Chris Bosen, joined once again by Riverdale head coach Will Krieski. And today's show is a special Class of 2026 edition as we prepare to celebrate all the seniors with pregame ceremonies Friday night in the final regular season home game of 2025 at Phil Watts Tomahawk Stadium before the Warriors take on the Siegel Stars in a key region contest. Now, we will preview the game against Siegel at the conclusion of this episode. That's something we recorded last week, but we'll have that at the end. So primarily this episode, we're going to spend talking about the student athletes who are in their final year with the Warriors. And Coach, I know it's a group that you're close to. 4 years of high school goes by so quickly. They don't realize it when they start as freshmen. Coaches, parents know how fast it's going to go, but the players usually don't.
No, the players don't really have any idea how fast it goes. Even even when you remember when you were in high school, you thought, "Oh man, this is taking forever, and it goes by just like a snap of the finger, and it's done." And these kids, I talked to them back in spring, and I told them, I said, "Guys, seniors, your season will be over before you know it." And then when we came back from the fall break, and on that Thursday when we got together and started meeting them, I said, "Seniors, you got 3 guaranteed games left." I said, are you going to do the detailed things to make sure things get done and finished? And, one of them come up to me and said, "God, Coach, I can't believe it's almost done. The season's almost done." And it's flying by. And, he was talking about 4 years of, at high school has gone by fast for him.
Well, and every team has a team culture. You've been there a decade now and building that Riverdale culture. Every year has kind of a motto, sort of a theme for the year, but each team is different. What has been the kind of identity, do you think, of this particular group of seniors? What will you take away from this group specifically?
Well, this group has been different, and like you said, we've always kind of done a little motto and started it in off season. And like this year, I read a Merle Hodge book. Find a way. Merle Hodge played for the Steelers, and he had a tough situation growing up, and I won't go in depth about the book, but he just always put a sign up above his bed and it said "find a way," and he found a way to play in college football. He found a way when he was in the NFL, and then he got struck with cancer, and he found a way to survive that. And I kind of use that, anytime guys want to say, "Coach, I don't know if I can do this or that," I say, "Find a way. Let's find a way," and I even tell myself that sometimes when I get frustrated little things, I have to use that motto for myself. I got to find a way. If I preach it to the kids, I have to do it for myself also. And that's been our, that's kind of what we've spoke about and talked about. But we also really stressed, like you said, I guess you're, speaking, it's crazy to believe that it's been a decade that I've, been ahead of Riverdale football. And you really start seeing things change. You don't see it immediately, but the way these kids, I mean, they've been enjoyable to coach. They're a really good group of kids. They have fun. They're respectful. They do everything we ask them to do. But, I just really like how good teammates they are. A lot of times, you get outside noises that can interfere with things, and these kids don't really listen to the outside noise. They just listen to the coaches, because we've preached, the last 6 weeks of our standard is our standard, and we're not going to let that standard slip, or we're not going to let that standard not be the standard. And what I mean by that is, like, when we go to practice, we expect them to practice up to our standard every time. And these kids really try that. They don't go out there and just halfway do things. And watching this team grow each week and work together and encourage each other and motivate, a lot of times we can say, we are a family, and we're not, not really showing it. But this group has really shown it, how to be a family and how to work together.
Well, we've got a lot of players to get to. You've got 35 senior players on the team, plus we've got some staff, some managers that we want to get to as well. So we're going to dive right in. The first guy, we're going to go through numerically today. Right. Some of these guys we talk about a lot. Some of the guys, you'll be hearing the names as far as our viewers are concerned, maybe for the first time. But we want to get to everybody. And you got a couple new guys up at the top of the list. It's Corbin Reynolds, the wide receiver transfer from Loretto. He's had a big impact this year.
Corbin, I could you're probably gonna have to cut me off on a lot of these too, as I'll talk a lot. Cause one thing I've tried to be is as a player's coach and really form a relationship with players. And yes, Corbin came in the summer, and, Corbin's a kid that you enjoy coaching. You have to make him speak. He doesn't really talk much, but he goes out and practice hard. I think he's really enjoyed his time here at Riverdale. He's been successful on the field. He's made great catches, made great plays, but he's done that. His identity, the way he come in and work, he is not a hoopla guy. He's not a social media guy. He doesn't post stuff. He just comes in and works. He's like the old school football player back in the 1990s. Just show up and come to work. And the thing that really stands out to me is that his high school basketball coach calls me either once a week from Loretta, either once a week or every other week, just to check in. And every time he's like, Coach, he's been one of my most enjoyable kids that I've coached in my career. And he's been coaching at Loretta for many, many years. I don't know the number for sure, but that says a lot. When the kid's not going to play basketball at Loretta, and he calls and checks on him, over fall break, after our game with Smyrna, he was calling me that Saturday, and we talked, and that just says a lot about a kid's character, who he is, and how he goes about his day-to-day actions. Was when you got a coach, your former coach calls and checks on you, and he's been really proud of seeing Corbin's success on the field. And he told me, he said, Coach, the one thing I hope, when we talked back in the summer, he said, I hope he's there long enough where you can see his leadership qualities. And Corbin's been our offensive captain each week. And yes, I've been able to see his leadership stand out with this team each and every week.
And he's a winner. He wins a state championship at Loretto, undefeated basketball season, and he's brought that right into the team. And it seems to me like, Coach, that the team has embraced him as well.
Yeah, the team has embraced him, and and that's due to his personality. Like, again, he's not coming in here demanding the football. He has never demanded the football at all. That's not who he is. He didn't come in high touted like he was going to come in and just be the best player. No, he just come in, grinded, it worked, and he got better. Even after the first few practices, he said, Coach, man, it's going to take me a while. These practices are a lot different than what I'm used to. And that's no knock on what Loretta is, just going from a smaller school to a bigger school. And then the way we practice with having so many athletes, he goes against our one defense all the time. And he progressive. We have seen him get better each week by the way he practices, and then it shows on Friday nights.
As we move on to the second player on our list, he wears number 2. It's another wide receiver and a DB. We see him on special teams sometimes, and that's Zayden Jones.
Zayden's a 4-year kid that's been with us for 4 years. He's a kid that, played behind some really good people the last few years. I mean, Zayden's been a part of some teams that have really, really talented receivers and DBs. I mean, Zayden, you got Brock at TSU, you got Jalen Thompson, you got Keyshawn Williams, you got Ryan Evans, all those guys, he played behind them and he never wavered. And, the same thing on the defense side. He's always played sparingly, offense and defense the last few years. And he was kind of banged up his sophomore and junior season, but this year he's been healthy and he's been shining for us. And again, he's a fun kid to be around. He's one I pick on constantly, and we cut up, the coaches, and some people call him Peanut. And, he's just Peanut's a fun kid to be around. He's always got a smile on his face. And even when you coach him hard, he'll come around and say something, poke at you, and you just start laughing. Like he makes practices, weights, everything fun and enjoyable to be around.
We always see these players on Friday nights. The public sees them on Friday night. We see how they do on the field. I think what gets overlooked, and that's what I enjoy doing this particular show for, where we focus on the seniors, is that camaraderie in the locker room between the players, between the coaches, things that the public doesn't get to see that you experience with them. I know that's what really, yes, you enjoy winning, you enjoy the competition, but those relationships and building those relationships, I know is so important to you.
Yes, I love kids. I love being around the kids. I love having fun with them, and I'll go in the locker room just to instigate stuff too, and that's what Zayden, coach, get out of here if we're gonna beat you up in here, that's just the fun we have, that's how we all get along and have a good time, and it's not just me, and then the other coaches go in there and pick at them, and it's been fun. Once we got our field house a few years ago, it has changed our team, our culture, everything dramatically because we're all under one roof. And we had a weight room over here. We had our locker room underneath the gym, and it was all separated. And now that we're all under one roof, we're always together and we're always around each other. It's been a blessing for us.
As we move on, and we do have to go through these players quickly, like you said, we could probably do a long time on each one. But our next one is another transfer. It's Riley Talley, and he comes over as a wide receiver from Rockvale and has had a big impact this season.
Yes, Riley, again, he's another quiet kid. He just comes and works. And, he scored a few weeks ago, and I was just like, I'm so proud of him. He's another one. Never demanded touches, never demanded the ball, didn't even demand to be a starter, nothing like that. He just came to practice. I wish everybody could see the way he practices. He's another kid that just comes over here and practices hard every day, works hard. And we talked a few weeks ago about how he blocks. He does a great job blocking. He's physical and he's very quiet, but once you get to know him, he's pretty funny. He's a pretty funny kid. His personality comes out and he's good to mess with and fun to be around. And again, he's another one that'll come around and pick at me at practice.
Someone that has had to overcome some things in the early part of their senior season and has made their way back onto the field is number 5. It's Dre Oti. I know he had some injuries early on, but he's gotten back to the field.
Oh, Dre's a great kid too. Dre's done a phenomenal job for us, and we're glad that Dre came back. Dre left it when him and his brother left and went to BGA his junior year, and then Dre called at the end of the season and said, "Coach, I'm moving back." And he came back, and it's been a blessing. And he came to our games last year and been around us, and he's another one that we pick on and have a good time with. And, it's really been good for us and our coaches to get to know him and his family. We loved his older brother. His older brother was a 2-year starter for us, and his dad's been good to us. And, fun kid, works hard, does what he's supposed to. Yes, he's been hampered by injury, but now I think he's starting to get back to 100%. And you can see the way he's playing on Friday nights.
Braylon Burns wears number 6 for you. He's another member of the wide receiver core. We talk every game about the depth of these wide receivers. He's another guy that on a lot of teams, he may be wide receiver number 1. And on this squad, he plays as part of a group.
Yes, he does. And again, he's had success early on. He struggled a little bit early on in the season. He never got at it. He just kept working, coming back to work and kept fighting for his job and kept doing things. And then he's had success on Friday nights. And again, I can't say anything bad about, Braylon, a great kid. Great kid. He also plays basketball here at Riverdale. And, 2 years ago, his family moved here. His sister plays basketball here at Riverdale. And, he's been a great addition to us. And again, with the culture that we get, the culture that we have, he's just fit in perfect. And he's been another one that's just fun to be around. This senior group has probably been one of the easiest groups to be able to coach each and every week.
I mean, that's saying a lot, just given the quality of athletes that you've had come through. That talks more about the character of the kids and the families who've sent them here, though.
Yeah, yes, and again, like you just said, families. His mom is wonderful, and she'll do anything for us if we need it. And she comes around and helps out. And again, if he slips up and scores something, I don't have to worry about him not. His mom will be the first one to get that tail. And but again, he doesn't do anything. He's always doing what he's supposed to be doing and at the right places. And all these kids are in class doing their work, doing what they're supposed to. And again, he's great to coach and enjoyable to be around.
The next member of the class of 2026 we have on the list, where's number 7? He was originally on the roster, coach, as a wide receiver. I went ahead and switched him over to running back because that's where we've seen him mostly. It's Chris Peters, but I know he'd do anything you ask of him.
Yes. I'm glad you said that he would. We moved him to running back, and he did. nothing was complained. He enjoyed it. He embraced it. And he works hard and he gets his reps. He doesn't, Jacob Vaughn's really come on for us, and Chris has accepted that. And Chris comes in and plays, and Chris comes in and does what he's supposed to. And when his number's called, you've seen it. He's successful. And like you just said about Braylon, Braylon could be the number one at other places. Chris could be the starting running back at other places. That's how talented he is. But and he provides us with that good depth, and Chris gets 3 or 4 touches for every Friday night. And when he gets those touches, he shines. Because when we were playing Stewart's Creek a few weeks ago, Chris came in and the official come over and said, "Coach, are you sure? Like, where's he been?" I said, "Man, that's the depth we got. Like that's he does what he's supposed to, and he can run."
The next guy on our list wears number 8, and the old saying is that you don't know what you got till it's gone. Aiden Emmons had a big start to the season, 3 interceptions in his first 3 games. He's one of the leaders on this team. A little injury nicked him up. He missed the last game, and Coach, I think it was noticeable. Aiden brings a lot to the field.
Aiden does. And I've talked to you in the past about how I was really hard on Aiden this offseason because I knew Aiden would have to be the leader. And that's what he has done. He has shined for us and has been that leader. And Coach Rail, he buys into what I preach, and he brings that to the defensive side. And what I really, really think is special, Jamarion Smith, JoJo, last year from our team last year, was a 3-year starter at linebacker. JoJo wore number 8 for 3 years. All right. And when JoJo, after he was done, his season was over, JoJo come in our office and said, "Coach, Aiden needs to wear number 8 next year. Let's keep that with the backers." And, it's really special to see that Aiden got in and got that number, and then the way he's leading and doing what he's supposed to do.
Right alongside Aiden is number 9, Czar Morris. And I remember one of the first stories you told me about Czar was, I guess it was during a 7-on-7 and not being able to hit and things like that. And the coaching staff being like, no, Czar, let's not lay that guy out.
That's just Czar. That's who he is. And, it's funny because Czar's another kid that, I'm not lying. The kids that you've talked about, that we've talked about so far on the show, are all good kids, quiet kids. They just work, like this group of the 9 kids that we just spoke about, all could play football in the 90s. They just show up, come to work, do what they're supposed to, doesn't complain, doesn't say anything, not getting. Czar is wonderful to be around. He doesn't say a whole lot. And, even teachers will ask me, "Does Czar ever talk?" But he is a quiet leader for us. And again, a great kid that will do whatever we ask for. If Miles Weaver wasn't our punter, he could be our punter also. He has that stronger leg like Czar. People used to make fun of, because, when Czar was younger, we would always, "Good job, Czar, good job, Czar." So the kids picked up on that, "Good job, Czar, good job. Oh, here's Czar," and they always would tease us and mess with us. But that's just who he is. He doesn't do anything that just upsets you, make you mad. He just does what he's supposed to.
And he's a guy, I think, Coach, these last couple that we've talked about with Aiden and Czar, they're going to have an opportunity to continue their football careers in college.
Oh, yes. Whoever picks up Czar is going to be special. They're going to get a steal.
As we continue going through our list, Cody Lewis wears number 13, another one of those wide receivers for you.
Yeah, Cody's been hampered with injuries, and Cody's a great kid, works hard, does what he's supposed to. His dad, John's our Booster Club president, been the Booster Club president for the last few years. And, I can't thank that family enough. He's had older brothers come through the program, and I've known this family for a long, long time. And, his dad, John also volunteered at one of our middle school and coached them for a while before he became the Booster Club president. And his family spends countless hours at Riverdale to make sure everything and every events run smoothly. And I can't thank, Cody and John, what all they've done for the program, and the way they work and their ethic and how they respect people. And it's just unbelievable. That family, like you just talked about, it starts at the home, and their families are unbelievable.
Well, people don't realize just how many hours of volunteerism and how many people it takes. And that when the families are engaged, not every family maybe has the opportunity because of their circumstances or job circumstances, life circumstances, to contribute in that way. So the families who can do that, it makes it special for all 100 members of the roster.
Yes, it does. It does make it real special for them, and the way they do it, and everybody.
as we continue, Nate Underwood, a linebacker, he wears number 15, and we called Nate's name a lot on defense.
Yeah, again, Nate's the one that come in as a freshman, and you're like, man, how's this kid gonna, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna grow into? Where's he gonna play? And Nate had a really good freshman season, and was kind of figuring out football. And then sophomore year was a great scout team player for us, and then last year got to play some reps, and then this year came into a starting role. And Nate comes from a good family. His dad's an assistant principal in a big high school in Georgia. And, his dad communicates with me all the time. And I'm excited that his dad will be able to be here for the game on Friday and watch him. And, his mom's heavily involved. And, that's, again, great families. Like you can't, I can't say enough about how fortunate we are with the great families that we have this year. And again, Nate, you can ask him to do anything and he'll just say, yes, sir.
We have a lot of multi-sport athletes on this list of seniors as we go through them. One of them wears number 22. He handles special teams, the kicking duties, the punting duties. It's Miles Weaver. He's a big-time soccer player at Riverdale. You were able to get him to come out and play a big role on the football team.
Yes, Miles has been with us and since his freshman year, and he was behind Khalil Armand for a few years, but always has punted for us. And, he keeps working hard. And again, last year at the end of the season, he was like, Coach, I'm probably just going to focus on soccer and just play soccer next year. And I was like, oh no, I start going in my panic mode. And, we're able to talk to him and convince him, I'll just come out and punt. And he's really, really enjoyed it. He's enjoyed it so much. He came to me the other day at practice, like, Coach, you think I could kick in college? I was like, yes, you got that type of leg and your work ethic, you're only going to get better. And because I really believe he has a really, really strong leg. Yesterday, we were working on punt. He rolled to the right and kicked it, and he was standing at the 20, and the ball landed on the other 20. So, that was pretty impressive. And I said, I'm telling you, son, you can play college if you want to.
Kickers, we'd be remiss if not to discuss it. Kickers are a unique breed, right, Coach? So I'm sure there are some funny stories about Miles as well.
Oh, there could be. Miles is a great kid, but yeah, he does some things, but I can't say enough what Coach Armand does with them and helps us out with that. And, but yeah, Miles is, the kickers are fun to be around.
Well, they have to go out early by themselves, and they do some different things. They're just a unique bunch, and Miles certainly has had a big impact on the team.
But,
DeMarcus, go ahead.
Sorry, but what I can say about Miles is that when they do go out and do what they're supposed to on their own, he does lead that group like a senior leader, and they do get work. Sometimes you can have groups go out there and just play around and not actually work. Miles doesn't let that happen.
Well, and I think that the results are showing through on game nights, right? Because of how successful he's been, and what a weapon he is with that group. DeMarcus Bird wears number 24. He's a DB for you. Another big important piece.
Yeah, DeMarcus has really come on, and he's had some times where he's played really well. And DeMarcus's brother is DJ, and so I've known his family for a long time. DJ Taylor was our starting running back, and they've been together. Played together, and it's really neat watching them two play. Last year together and being around each other, and Marcus, if you get to know him, he's funny. He's real funny, and kids call him Birdman, and so he can make things interesting and fun to be around. Just at moments at practice, just doing something off the wall. Maybe we're having a bad period or something, and he'll do something just off the wall and just change the whole mentality and the whole period. Just by being funny and goofy.
What's coming through here, Coach, is I see the team on Fridays and on Thursday nights games, a very serious team, a group that takes game nights seriously. But you're communicating to me how much fun they are and how funny they are.
Yeah, again, that's what people don't understand. People don't see the work we put in Sunday through Thursday with these kids. And, so I've had some teams where, Sunday through Thursday could drag. But these kids, they don't make it drag. They make practice fun. And I really think they enjoy practice. I think they have a good time with each other and enjoy being around each other. And it's all due to all these seniors, like we've talked about. They make the season, and their attitudes and the way they act and the way they treat each other. And they want to have fun. So they have fun at all times.
Well, it's great to know. I'm glad we're getting to talk about these guys. Elijah Reams wears number 26. He's another one whose name gets called a lot. He has a big impact on the team in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and Elijah's a big time wrestler here at Riverdale, and he's done that for the last few years and done a really good job at wrestling. Elijah, his personality has really came out this year. He's always been quiet, reserved, but that's not the Reams that we've got to know this year. He's done more trash talking than I've ever seen on Friday nights, and at Laverne, I had to calm him down a little bit, but he's kind of got that grit that you want on the defensive side, and the way he acts is the type of style and personality we need on our defense. And I've really been impressed with how he's grown as a leader on this team because you know he demands excellence not only from himself but from his teammates. But yeah, his personality has really shown this year, and just being goofy. And him and Bird don't get those two in a room together.
There's something about the mentality of a wrestler, Coach. I mean, Diego Pavia down on West End has shown what that mentality can do on a football field.
Oh yes, and again he brings that to the football field, and I've been really impressed. And you think, oh, he's small, but Reams will pack a punch, and people don't like getting hit by Reams.
Davion Dial is the next player, number 27, and I know he got some snaps in preseason. Got an opportunity, I think, if I remember correctly, to get in the end zone, but an important part of your team.
Yeah, he does a good job. He's a big. He does our job on our scout team running back, and does a great job. And he doesn't complain about his role. He just comes in and works. And I'm just really proud of his personal growth from last year to this year. He came out last spring, just happened to run into me in school and said, "Coach, I want to come out." And I said, "Yeah, we'll talk." I didn't let him come out in the spring during spring ball. I told him to come out starting this summer, and he did come out this summer. And I'm really, really proud of how he's personally what he's done in the school and changed and done better and really wanting to improve and be a better person. And he's had some difficult situations in life, and life's not always easy for everybody. And people don't understand the coaches what we deal with and talk to. These kids deal with a lot, and I'm proud, and he's going to be successful in life, and he's got tools to be successful, and I'm proud of his growth.
Football can always be a key to unlock different things. It can unlock success in the classroom. It can unlock success in life. It can unlock success in just your maturity. And it really does have an impact on the kids that are willing to commit themselves to that process, right? And it is a process. It is a sacrifice to be a member of a team, but you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yes, and he had seniors come to me asking me to let him on the team. And that was huge. And the seniors that did that, they said, "Coach, he needs this to help." And when a senior says that, I couldn't say no to it.
Yeah, well, and sometimes, in any activity, sometimes there are people who need the activity maybe more than the activity necessarily needs them because of numbers or whatever it may be. And it means a lot, though, when those two things come together.
It does. Again, I can't speak volumes of how proud I am of what he's done.
Jonathan Turner is a running back for you. He wears number 29 and just another important member of the team.
Yeah, I've been Jonathan Turner. He's one that was getting some reps. At the end of some scrimmages and things like that, and he had a devastating injury. Towards ACL in a scrimmage, a preseason scrimmage. And Jonathan Turner just comes in, shows up. He's been a scout team guy for 3 years, and he never complains. And it was unfortunate that he did tear his ACL in preseason camp, but he's handled it, and he's still he's around us every day, and he cuts up with us, and I'm really proud of him.
The guys that stick with it, even in the face of injury, and still come out and are still on the sidelines and are still a member of the team. That's the thing to not forget is even though you're not contributing on the field, you're still an important part.
Yes, it is. And, him being around, and he wants to wear his pads on Friday and, for senior night. And you can't say no to that. Yeah, son, you wear your pads. It's last home game at Riverdale, possibly could be the last home game, and he wants to wear his pads. Yes, wear your pads and be a part of it. He just wants to be a part of it. He's proud to be a part of it. He's one of those, he'll do whatever for Riverdale football from now to the end of time. And I'm just proud. I'm proud of him.
Number 30, Keandre Dave is a defensive back for you.
KD is another kid that Coach Bonds had in class last year and was like, "Hey man, why don't you play football?" And he came out. KD's right there on the cusp. He gets second team reps every week, and I wish he would have came out earlier. Because when I saw him, I thought maybe when he came out in the spring, I thought he was going to be a junior this year, but unfortunately he is a senior. But again, that's just our coaches recruiting the hallways, and he's done a really good job for us, and it's just a quality backup for us right now. And if we had him a few years earlier, things could have been different. But again, he's not upset, not mad, and he just enjoys being around us and being around the team.
Jaden Gatewood, he wears number 33, and another guy will be recognized Friday night.
Yeah, Jaden, again, he's another kid that he moved to Riverdale back in May or June, and came to us. And again, Jaden's had some personal family issues. His sister was in a car wreck, and he's been dealing with that. And she's had a devastating injury, and she's going through PT, and he's been torn up through that situation. And Jaden's a really good kid. Just personally, he's been going through a lot this year, and that's a kid you root for right now, and hopefully he has success. And Jaden has the grades; he can go to college and do whatever he wants to do. And he's highly intelligent young man, and this guy, if he puts the work ethic into it, the sky's it's unlimited what he could do.
People don't see, Coach, the ups and downs, the personal struggles that some of these players go through. They see them on Friday night, and you talked about, a few weeks ago, hearing somebody yell from the stands, tackle, or there have been other things yelled from the stands sometimes. Folks don't necessarily always understand some of the things that these kids carry on their shoulders as 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old teenagers, right? And we put some high expectations on them sometimes.
No, yeah, we do. And they still got to live their day-to-day life. And, and you don't understand and see, how they, some things that these kids go through. I don't know how I'd have handled it at a 15-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid, but the way he's handled this situation has been highly impressive.
Jaden Jones wears number 35. He's listed as a fullback. We don't see a lot of fullback opportunities with the Riverdale offense, but Jaden's a good guy to have on the team.
He is. Jaden's, just right there. He's floated around from fullback or running back. He plays running back for us to our D-line to linebacker. We've always tried to find him that spot, and he's been a very good depth guy for us. He plays on all the special teams for us. And again, he doesn't say a whole lot. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He just comes and does his work and does what he's supposed to. And, I'm proud for him sticking it out. A lot of kids in his situation probably would have quit. Was like, I'm not playing. I'm not getting the reps. And he never wavered and didn't decide to quit. He stuck with it and been doing it. And those guys right there is what make your team special.
Cade Bonds wears number 40. He's a defensive back and just another member of that big unit. You got a lot of DBs on this team.
Yes, we do. And Cade's a quiet kid, makes all A's, and his mom and dad, they stay on him and make sure he does what he's supposed to. And he's really grown. And Cade, he's not a very big kid. He's not a big kid at all, but he always, even last year, he's always kind of been in control. Like he's protected. Like I said, he's not a big kid, but when they get to wrestling and picking on each other in the locker room, he was always called it. I said, why is he untouchable? And they're like, Coach, you just don't mess with Cade. Nobody's allowed to mess with Cade in here. So, but again, he's been another one that I really love being around and hanging out with him.
We reached the midway part here of our list of 39 seniors with Levante's House. Wears number 41. He's a defensive lineman. And we're 30 minutes into the show, Coach, so this will be an extended edition of the Will Kreisky Show, but we kind of knew that. We want to be sure and give each of these guys their time. Levante's big-time player every Friday night.
He is, and I'm really proud of his growth and the way he's come on. And I mean, he's grown up a whole lot for us. And I don't know if you realize we got 3 houses on our football team. His 2 other brothers, and I'm really again, sophomore, junior year, he's a scout team guy, and then now he's come into the starting role. But I mean, it wasn't a bad he's scout team guy. No, he played. There was some really good D linemen in front of him, and I've been really proud. He got reps last year, some not a whole lot, but he would get reps last year as a junior. But again, this year, he really focused on improving his technique and getting better each week. And like you said, it's really shown on Friday nights.
Number 42, Anthony Gunn, plays alongside of him often on that defensive front. The linebackers get a lot of the attention. DBs get a lot of attention, but the guys in the trenches make it all go.
Yes, they do. And Anthony came in as a freshman, and he was going to play for us as a freshman, but then he broke his foot. He did get to play a few games as a freshman, but Anthony's just been a constant. He's got reps since he's a freshman. He's constant at what he does. He's been the same size since he's been a freshman, but he just comes to work. Again, if you get to know Anthony, he's pretty goofy. His personality doesn't come out unless you really get to know him.
And he gets a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks every ball game.
Yeah, he has. He has for the last 3 years. And again, it's just his work ethic, his film study, and what he does. And, those D-line guys have really bought into Coach Fuqua and Coach Martin, what they do. And, I'm really proud of his growth each and every year.
In your 10 years, one of the biggest changes I think that's happened in TSSAA has been the transfer, the one-time transfer. It means there's a lot more kids kind of moving around for different reasons. The next guy on our list is a guy who really, it wasn't by choice, but by circumstance. Webb Bellbuckle closes their football program, and Wyatt Petroka was one of the players as a senior left looking for a place to land, and number 44 makes his way to Riverdale.
Yeah, he does. And again, he's a guy that I feel sorry for. The program shut down and he didn't have a place to play. And, he lives in our zone. So, so he was able to come here without any issues and was eligible immediately. And, he worked really hard and worked his way. He went from being a 2-year starter at Webb at linebacker. And then he comes here, he's playing behind Aiden and Jeremy Thompson. And, but he didn't get upset. He wasn't upset about it. And then, unfortunately, towards ACL in the Blackman game running at kickoff. And, he has really, really, really been accepted in our locker room with our kids. He got hurt, when he tore his ACL and that Monday and Tuesday of the following week, he wasn't around and the kids, well, where's Wyatt at? Where's Wyatt at? And then when he come in, Wyatt, and it's really good to see when a guy that came in, lost his team and then was immediately accepted by another group, and he's been really fun to be around. He's always at practice, and, Wyatt's working on getting Dr. McKissick to write him a note. So maybe he can get a snap or two here, in the next few weeks, maybe a long snap or something, just because he just wants to play. He just wants a rep and, all this situation. But I tell you what, all these unfortunate things that's happened taught me a lesson. Because I've never seen the kid being negative. I've never seen him mad at anybody. His football program got shut down. He tore his ACL, which he tore his other ACL last year at the end of the season. So he's had 2 ACL surgeries, and then his football program come down, and he's still around every day with a smile on his face, being very positive. And you can't, if that's his outlook on life, he'll be successful because even during the hard situation, he finds the positives in it.
Coach, I don't mean to put too fine of a point on it, but it sounds a little bit like Merrill Hodges' book story.
You find a way. You're exactly right.
I mean, and again, I think kids don't realize, just like we talked at the outset, how quickly these 4 years will go by. They often don't realize the same camaraderie that they experience in the high school locker room. It probably won't come around again like that in that way ever again either.
No, and that's what I try to let them know, man. These are your best memories. I said, with me, the guys that I talked to back at Henry County, guys I played football with, that's who I talk to. And I tell them all the time, the guys that you're going to reach out to and talk to whenever you're married with kids are guys that was in that locker room with you. And that's who you'll be with. And that's who you'll be around. And it's really good to see these relationships. I got guys, like you said, that's come back and they're guys working out together on the track and things like that. It's they're former football teammates. And, these relationships are very special.
The next guy on the list wears number 50. He's out there every night. I say his name just as much as an offensive or a defensive starter. He's the long snapper, Cooper Dees. And the reason I do it, Coach, is because often those guys aren't listed or they don't get their name called out. But my goodness, if that long snap is off a bit, you certainly know who they are then. Cooper is a solid, rock-solid part of that special teams unit.
Yeah, he's been all year long. He's been a rock-solid part, and I've been really proud of him. And, again, he's another guy behind 2 really good linebackers. He could start somewhere else, but I've been really proud of him just coming in and doing what he's supposed to and practicing hard and doing everything right in the weight room. He's a very high academic guy, so he's going to have a chance to go somewhere in college. And if he wants to walk on and play, he will have that opportunity. If not, he'll go to school and be able to get his degree and do something special. Another guy that just shows up to work, blue-collar guy with a smile on his face.
And another family that's a big part of the program too.
Oh yeah, yes. Of course, his dad's a teacher here, and then Miss Brandy, she does whatever we ask. She's always helping out. She helps with the pregame meals and she tries to help organize different things. She's working together, putting senior baskets together. So yes, but you know what? I'm not getting rid of her. Her son, she's got another son that'll be a freshman. So next year Tucker will be a freshman. So I'll have the D's family around hopefully for another 4 more years.
As we talk about pregame meals a bit, we're getting into those numbers now, Coach, where we got the big eaters coming up. The big guys. Jordan Bowen wears number 51. He plays on the D line for you.
Oh, Jordan's been a guy that's, boy, I'm really proud of him and his growth. For 3 years, I've stayed on him and coached him really hard, really hard. Jordan's kind of different. Sometimes he moves at his own pace, which is that I don't like that. And but Jordan has really, really matured and grown up this year. I mean, I can't. Just his maturity level and the way he changed. He's done a 180, and I'm really proud of who he's become and what he's become and how he practices and what he's done and between the weight room, the classroom, the practice field, everything, and he's done an unbelievable job for us this year.
EJ Olguin wears number 52. He's a member of your offensive line. He's been moved around a little bit as we've had some changes on that offensive line due to injury and sorting pieces out, but EJ is an important part.
EJ, came to us after his freshman year from PCA. I've coached his two older brothers, Jackson and Austin, were linebackers for us, and were very mean and physical guys. And EJ comes in. EJ's a little bit nicer than those two, and but EJ went from defensive line, offensive line, just right there. And, he's found his role and found his niche as offensive tackle. And again, a great kid, great family who I've known for a long time. And, I'm really proud. It's crazy. I sent him EJ a text yesterday, just how proud I am of him being a leader on that offensive line and accepting his role as an O-lineman. Because, he had dreams. Everybody watches J.J. Watts, and he wanted to be come off the edge and be that guy. And I've been really proud of him accepting his role and buying into it and now being the leader of that group.
Caleb Woods, as we flip back over to the defensive side, wears number 55, double nickel up there. Another guy who has a huge impact down in the trenches.
Yeah, he's had second year with us, doing a great job. Caleb moved to us. His dad, me and Caleb got a special relationship. I grew up in a field house. I grew up, when I was a little kid, I was my time when I had time off, I was at the field house with my dad. I was hanging out with my dad. And that's what Caleb did. Caleb's dad was a high school head coach for a long time, and from Memphis to Nashville at Cane Ridge, and his dad was successful there. And then, his dad's the head coach or tight ends coach at TSU. And, I know what Caleb's been through. I've been there, and so we got a little bond. It's a special bond, both of us being coaches' kids and being around football our life. And, one of the coaches said, "Why is he always in your office? He's always in your office." I said, "Guys, that's what he's used to. He's used to always being in the head coach's office. That's just normal to him." And, I'm not going to, you can't come in here and hang out. No, that's just, whether it's good, bad, even on his bad practices, he's still coming to hang out because that's what he's used to, with his dad. And, I really appreciate Eddie, them moving up here and letting this kid be a part of it, and that speaks volumes, man. I mean, I told Coach Woods that, for him to move up here and put Caleb in our program after he got out of high school coaching, that means a lot to me. And I really appreciate that because, us coaches, we do. Coach Woods is a guy that I got to know and really respected. And, he helped me out a lot as I got into this business as a head coach. And we always either scrimmaged each other or got to play each other. And, he had some really good teams there. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm going too long. But that family, his dad being a high school coach and stuff, it does mean a lot to me.
Well, you're also shaping whether guys have an opportunity to play college football or continue their career after high school. You never know. You're also shaping future coaches who may have a role in locker rooms down the line years from now.
Yes, and it's funny you said that because Cody Lewis, a guy we talked about earlier, I talked to him in the preseason. I said, "Man, you'd be a good high school coach. Have you ever thought about that?" A few days later, he come back to me. He said, "Coach, man, whenever you let me, if I can work it out with my schedule, I'd love to come back and volunteer for you." So, it is. I do. There's guys that I go around and that I see that pick up the game and understand the X's and O's, and I'll put that bug in their ear.
It's awesome. It's terrific to know, and that's what I love talking about these different guys for. Grayson Gibson, he's an offensive lineman for you, wears number 61, and offensive line is another special group, usually the largest group in any locker room, and it's no different at Riverdale.
Grayson Gibson came in as a freshman, and he was a little overweight, and Grayson has really, really worked hard, and really, really done a good job in the weight room. And I've been really proud of him, and I pick on him. I call him Mr. 42. And the kids will look at me. I said, "Oh, he made a 42 on his ACT." And they was like, "What? You can't make a 42?" I said, "Grayson did. I don't know how." But no, Grayson did it. Grayson scored a 32 on his ACT. Grayson's going to be able to go anywhere in college that he wants to. Grayson's smart. He's got a great work ethic. He's a great kid. And he plays on a scout team. He's a scout team lineman. He's a backup offensive lineman. And he just, again, a quiet kid, very quiet like Czar. But again, if you get to know him, his personality will come out for you, and he'll make you laugh and cut up with. But again, he does all the things in the classroom. He's highly intelligent, and he's going to be very, very successful in the future.
We are in a big run here of offensive linemen. Samaje Davis wears number 69 for you. As we go through these offensive linemen, I think that gets overlooked too, Coach, is offensive linemen are considered usually big and mean, and they're often some of the smartest players on the team as well, and have to be.
Yeah, they have to be. You're exactly right. Samaje's another kid that's kind of come around and been with us. He's been with us since a freshman. He's grown up every year. He's grown up and matured, and his mom, is very involved in the program and helps out again pregame meals and different things like that. And Samaje, he's been an interesting character, and the kids really enjoy him in the locker room and having him around. And he's a scout team O lineman, backup offensive lineman, but with a great attitude, and has accepted his role, accepted who he is with the locker room. It's been fun to be around him and seeing his growth.
LeBrian Shelbourne wears number 71, and we talk about finding a way, things that you have to overcome. We lost him. He's a returning co-offensive lineman of the year in the region, was expected to be a pillar, an anchor of this offensive line. It didn't pan out that way. His path changed, but he has found other ways to contribute to this particular 2025 edition of the Riverdale Warriors.
Yeah, he has. He's a leader. He hadn't been around in a few days, and of course, I was texting him yesterday. "Where you at? Like, I missed," because he had his surgery the Thursday before fall break, and I just miss seeing him. I'm excited that he'll be here Friday. Be around us, and again, he's another one that just means a lot to me, special to me. I watched him in middle school, and and saw him grow up in middle school, and he was a Christiana kid, and then like you said, it's the way of the world. He chose to go to Oakland his freshman and sophomore year, and then his junior year came back here. And, I've really, really enjoyed him and really enjoyed being around him. And he's got leadership qualities. He's a very good leader and a hard worker. And, you feel bad for a kid like that towards ACL, and we're still fighting our tail off. We're going to find him somewhere to play, and he's going to have the opportunity to play in college. And I'm excited about his future and, what he does. And, his mama, Miss Donna, Miss Donna makes a mean, delicious strawberry banana pudding. And yes, she made, I remember, because Coach Creasy and I are good buddies. And when he come over, he said, "Man, Coach, the one thing I'm going to miss is that strawberry banana pudding that she used to make us." And she brought one in not too long ago. I took a picture and sent it to Coach Creasy. But it's good to have them around, and again, a great family, great kid.
Coach, as a parent myself, and I know, like, we kind of hold our breaths when we see our child down or injured or in the field. That must hit you for all 100 guys on the team, though. When you see a guy go down or you see an injury, you have to make that walk out onto the field. That must be an emotional time for you.
Yeah, it's tough. When you get invested in these kids and you see how hard they work and what they've done. And then, I try to tell kids, man, that, at any snap of the ball, this game could be taken away from you. And, I walked out there, and when our trainer, Robbie, looked at me, it's like, I just gave him a hug and said, "LB, I love you. I love you, LB. We're going to get through this." And that was really tough, especially being week one, Knox Catholic. And, he only got to play one game as a senior for us. And yes, it's really tough and really hard to deal with. And then the coaching doesn't stop there. if they get hurt, you got to coach these kids through injury and how to bounce back. We talk about Wyatt. Wyatt's had a good attitude. LB was kind of torn up and down for a while because he lost his senior year and he didn't know what his future was going to hold. And we got him through it, and he got his surgery done. And he was trying to convince the doctors, hey, let's tape it up and play. And I'm like, LB, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, but God's got a plan for him, and I'm excited to watch it.
I did not play football myself growing up. Having watched it with a child who played, though, resiliency is, I feel like, the number one trait that I miss out having played the game, because football, maybe more than any other sport, teaches us that resiliency.
Yeah, I tell kids that all the time, man. Things are not going to go your way, or things are in life. I want to make sure you're prepared for life. That's what me and Samaje had a talk not too long ago about that. Like, I want you to make sure you're prepared for what's going to hit you down the road. What if you're going to work one day and you get a flat tire? Are you just going to panic and call mom and be upset? Or are you going to go to action and change that tire and get it fixed and get to work? Or can you communicate with your boss? Hey, my tire's flat. I'm going to be 15, 20 minutes late, and things are going to be, you're going to have curveballs thrown at you, situations, and how you handle it and how you handle those situations kind of tells a little bit about you and your personality and your character.
One of the guys who got called on to kind of step into that gap that LeBron left with his injury is Darian Adams. He wears number 75, another member of that offensive line unit.
Yeah, again, Darian's right there. He's on scout team. He's right there. He rotates in at offensive line. He's getting better every week. We had a lot of zone changes and stuff this year. Darian was over at Oakland for a few years, and where he moved to, his family moved to, he's now in the Riverdale zone, and he's played a totally different offense over there. So now he's learning what we're doing. And he's gotten better each week and slowly, progressing like we had. I wish we'd have had him all 4 years, but that's just not the way of the world. But I'm, again, quiet kid, good kid, and fun to be around.
Isaiah Dunaway wears number 76. And Coach, one thing here is, like I said, a lot of senior offensive linemen.
Yeah, again, Isaiah Dunaway, great kid, scout team kids, been around us. His mom works in the school. He does everything we ask, and he's just fun to be around. He's a little quiet. We kind of just showed up as a sophomore and just wanted him to play, and he does what he's supposed to. And again, football's been very good for him and what he's needed.
Those scout team offensive linemen, what they're asked to do in replicating the opponent, preparing that first team defense, They may not see a snap on Friday night, but my goodness, they impact the prep of the team week in and week out.
Yeah, they do. They're very valuable to us, like you said, and you got to give a look, and how our defense plays. It's not always fun going against them each and every day, in practice, but they're going against our defense every day in practice, and it's making them better.
Eli Clark wears number 77, a guy who's been plugged into some different spots on that O-line as you've tried to reconfigure in the wake of LeBron's absence.
Eli's been a staple for us. He had an injury his sophomore year, but he's been fighting back and working hard and doing what he's supposed to. Again, I coached Eli's older brother, and he's been another one that's I feel like his family's been with me for all 10 years, but there was a little gap where his family wasn't with us, but he's been there. He works hard. He's a highly intelligent kid. He does all the right things in the classroom, and sometimes his situations, his life hadn't always been perfect, but like, he doesn't complain. He doesn't throw it in anybody's face. He just shows up, does his work, man. That kid every day leaves practice and goes in and works Burger King till it closes. And, he's got a lot on his plate for a 17-year-old kid, but I'm really proud of him. And again, I hope we can use football to help get him where he needs to go and be successful in life. And, just get to know Eli, man, and you'll be grateful for your situations. I'm proud and very, very sensitive of Eli and some things that he's had to deal with in his life.
It shows a lot of maturity, the ability to go out there, commit to school, commit to your athletics, and commit to a job that way. It's maturity that'll serve him well through life.
Yes, it is. And again, I appreciate you doing this show and talk about the seniors because we get to find out. These people get to understand the kids and what we deal with. And again, he's somebody like not everybody will understand why Eli reacts the way he does until you get to know the kid. I had somebody like, how did you know that? Say that to him. How did you know to handle that situation like that? I said, you got to get to know them. When you get to know your kids and your players, you know how to handle each. Not every kid's the same. You don't coach every kid the same. You don't. That's just not how you do it. And getting to know him on a personal level. But like I said, I mean, his family's been with me like 8 years now, so I've really really got to know them.
Jeffrey Williamson wears number 79 for you, another member of the offensive line group as we kind of round out those guys, but an important piece as well.
Yeah, he is. Jeffrey's another guy just right there and come to work. And, he's done a lot better for us. He had some unfortunate issues in the classroom that held him back a year ago. But, now he's back working and doing what he's supposed to and doing right. His grandmother stays on him, man. Boy, if everybody had a grandmother like he had, they'd be all right. His grandmother, she bends over backwards to take care of him, make sure he's doing all the right things. And, Jeffrey, he's another one of those guys. He's not very serious. He's a funny guy. But it doesn't, you don't see that come out, when you're at practice and stuff. But when you get around him in the locker room stuff, he can make some moments fun.
The challenges of life, Coach, we're talking about this as we round this down to the last couple of players. The opportunity to, on a Friday night and throughout the week at practice, get together with your peers, they're still teenagers, and have some fun. It's really important. And for some guys, maybe even more important than for others.
Yes, it is. And like you said, a lot of kids need football. I mean, we got 160 kids on our roster, and like you said, they want some place to go and be around, and they want that family type atmosphere. And that's why, I don't just try to preach family, I try to mean it. And I want them a place to go. And if if they got hard times, because not everybody's life's difficult, and you can't just go talk to anybody these days. And if they do have a situation, I want them to be able to talk to their position coach or come in my office and talk to me. And I'll try to extend a hand to help out or call people. Somebody that's been very, very, very vital part of my coaching staff is Ricky Field. Anytime kids are going through some type of situation, he has a connection or a person that I can get a hold of or he can get a hold of to help him out with a certain situation.
And I also have heard so often about a locker room, that football locker room, maybe more than any other sport, maybe because of the size of it and the number of players that it encompasses. You have different beliefs and different family situations and different economic situations and different races and different backgrounds, but they all come together towards one goal, and that's something that we can all learn from.
Yeah, that's what I said. I say that all the time. I wish people would understand or get a feel of a high school football locker room. And how these people can get along and how these people can work together and just who they are. Cause it comes from, like you just said, every different type of background, race, whatever. And they come in and there's no worry in the world. That's why I tell people all the time, I love going out on that practice field with them because I got 100 players, coaches, and there's not one cell phone out. You know what I mean? And they're all working and communicating and getting along. And that's why we talk about how valuable football is.
Jaron Hollins wears number 92. He's a defensive lineman for you.
Man, I could have spent an hour on Jaron Hollins. His nickname was Firecracker. I don't know if many people know. I've called him Firecracker since his freshman year. He had a situation in the locker room that highly upset me. And he was a young, immature kid that just thought he would do something funny at a time. And, Jaron and I became close as a freshman. And, he has, I tell you what you just said about football, football changed his life and has made him who he was. There's times when Jaron didn't even know if he wanted to play football anymore, and he stuck it out, finished it, did what he's supposed to. He's worked hard, starting row, and man, he went from a kid that was just hard to deal with at a practice field and hard to coach to a kid that you love to be around that could come and sit in this office with me right now. We could spend an hour and a half just talking and cutting up, man. And, football changed his life. It really did. And I'm really proud of him and how he's grown and who he's become.
It takes people, though, in the lives of these kids to help put those guardrails out, to help navigate them through tough times, whatever it may be. We've all gone through challenges. And when there are adults in our life who invest in those kids, it makes a big difference.
Well, it does. And I got a great coaching staff that really gets involved. Coach Martin's really close with him and done a really good job with him. And, Coach Martin and his dad and Jaron, they've all worked together. And this kid's going to be successful now.
Aiden Rivas wears number 95. We wrap it up with him for the seniors as far as guys in uniform, but another important part of the team.
Again, he's a backup kicker. We begged Aiden to play football for a while. And, when Miles was kind of up in the air, we got him to come out and he kicks. And, if he would have been kicking for 4 years, it could be a different situation for him. And, Aiden has another younger brother, Caleb, that we begged. He's a big baseball player, and we've tried to get him to play football. And, he's a sophomore here. And, Coach Rivas, his dad, I've taught with since 2009, and we're pretty close. I'm really close with their families. We celebrate holidays together. We hang out, it's that family. I'm glad he's playing. I'm glad his family gets to be a part of the Friday nights. His dad's been at Riverdale since the early 2000s. So it's meant a lot for his dad to have a son on the sideline. His dad's watched so many games here at Riverdale, and Aiden's a heck of a soccer player also, and chose to come out this year. But it's really meant a lot to his dad and his mom. Just finally they got a kid playing at Riverdale, and they really enjoy those Friday nights.
That rounds out the players, the 35 members of the team, but there are 4 support staff members that are seniors that will be recognized Friday night. Aaliyah Meyer is the first of those 4.
Yeah, Leah's the manager. She's been with us 4 years, and for her to be able to put up with me for 4 years says a lot about her. I don't just take that manager role lightly. I treat them like football players. I expect them to do things and get things done. And Leah knows how to be organized. She knows how to. She runs that equipment room now, and I'm really going to miss her next year and trying to find somebody to replace her because she's made my job a lot easier, made assistant coaches' jobs a lot easier, and she can be mean to the players. And tell them, get out of the equipment. No, you can't grab that piece of equipment. And, she's organizing jerseys and things like she's been very blessing to have around.
Rowan Taylor is another member of that staff that is a senior.
Yeah, Rowan played football. He played as a freshman and a sophomore, and Rowan kept getting concussions. And, he was sitting in his locker, and I was like, Rowan, just because you can't play don't mean you can't still lift weights and can't be around us. You can stay with us. He's like, you serious, coach? I'm like, yeah. And so he started working out, and I said, Rowan, you can go to college and be a student assistant, if you want to. Why don't you do that here? And Rowan's done a good job. I'm glad he stayed around. His mom has been highly involved. She's never, since he got hurt, she's always still been involved. And, for him to just want to be a part, want to hang around means a lot to me. I've enjoyed Rowan and enjoyed Rowan. He's a very responsible kid, and you can give him a list of things to do and he'll do it. And again, like I said, his parents both been around, and I love that he's stayed with us and stuck it out.
Cadence Neal is another member of this staff that'll get an opportunity to have their name called out on Friday night and walk that 50-yard line.
Yeah, she's another one. Aaliyah kind of recruited her to help. Aaliyah wanted, to take some stuff off her plate, so she recruited her. And Cadence does a great job helping her out, making sure things get done, and it's done in the correct way where I don't get upset.
And we wrap it out with Ryan Zimmerman. I guess it's appropriate to end with a Z name as we go through these 39 seniors on this program.
Ryan flies our drone each and every day, flies it in the practice. He goes to every practice. And he's a great kid. Ryan started out, played as a freshman and wanted to stick out. But, Ryan's a small guy, and, we got to talk to him about filming and working. And, again, his mom and his family I've got to know really well, and they come around. They're around a lot. He's got a sister that's in basketball here or volleyball here, and she does, they're a great family, and Ryan does it whatever we ask. Ryan managed to still fly drones, but also be a really big, good golfer here at Riverdale. And, he was on the golf team, and he's had a lot of success in golf. And, I don't know where he's going to choose to go to school at, but, Ryan's going to be successful, and I'm proud that he just stuck around. Again, he didn't have to stick around and hang out with football, but he chose to. And people don't understand these support staff that we just talked about are just as vital as the players, because they take a lot off the coaches for having to do things. And when you have 4 people like that you can trust to get the job done and don't have to micromanage them, man, it's a blessing.
The evolution of technology in the game, Coach. We talked about your decade at Riverdale. We talked about a little bit about your past. I'm guessing drones weren't a part of the picture. May have been VHS tape, but in certain offenses, they may only have 1 or 2 or 3 kind of plays that they run. That's not the case for Coach Barnes. The drone flight and that video component is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a very huge deal. And, we actually, Coach Barnes was the one that got me to start filming practices with the drone and not just the iPads and the cameras. And Coach Barnes is the one that got me heavily in the drones. He brought it to us from Saudi Days, and it's been a game changer for us and for what Ryan does. He's been useful. Besides the time he did fly in a tree one time on the practice field, and we did have to get a fire department to come out there and get it out for it. No, we didn't. It wasn't the fire department. Who was it? It was a utility company that was able to come out there and get it for us.
Now, as a former Booster Club president myself, I've seen and had to pay the check on a drone being flown into the goalposts before. So I'm well aware of how that can happen.
Yeah, we got to laugh in one game because it looked like Ryan and another drone guy were kind of fighting with each other over the spot they wanted. So, Ryan takes his job serious, and I'm really proud of that.
We are over an hour into this special episode, this special edition of the Coach Will Krieske Show. We're going to wrap it up. If you stay tuned, we will have our little preview of the Siegel game that we taped with Coach last week before that episode. But, Coach, as we do wrap this up here for senior night, Friday night, you'll stand on that 50-yard line. You'll shake hands with the parents. You'll have those players. There'll be more than 100 student-athletes recognized on Friday. I know Coach Brooke Wyatt has put that all together, and it'll be a very special night. But emotionally for you, as you stand there and as you see these players walk up, some kids that you've known since they were little, some kids you got to know this year, what are the emotions like for you on a senior night standing on that 50-yard line?
Well, it gets tough for me, because when you invest so much in a kid and then knowing that, hopefully they're ready to go to the real world. Hopefully they've learned the tools that they need to be successful. Hopefully they're gonna take what they've learned from the football program and use it out in the real world. Not very small percentage of kids get a chance to go play college football. And so for them to stick it out with me I tell them all the time, man, guys, you play for me. I'll be there. I'll have your corner the rest of your life. If you ever need anything from me, don't hesitate to call me. Don't pick up the phone. If you need help, if you need a reference on a job, call me and let me know. And I'll help you out any way I can. But yeah, it is a tough and an emotional day, an emotional night, for the kids and their families. And, just watching them grow and mature for 4 years is something special. That's what I enjoy most about being a coach, is watching these kids from freshmen or whenever they enter our program to the time they leave, and just seeing that growth and that change. And when they really buy into our program and what they do, and just having our side. And it's awesome just to watch that growth and be a part of it. And I'm a small part of these kids' lives. And that's just, like you said, we got 39, that's a lot of kids, but when I first started out, man, we had 15, 16 seniors, and that just says a lot about the growth of this program. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of everybody. And, I truly do love these kids. They mean a lot to me, and just what they do. And hopefully I can help them be successful.
We have talked about everyone from the star starter to the scout team guy to the guys who maybe don't dress to the managers, coach. I think what's important to recognize, though, is the relationship that you build and that your staff builds with them is no different, whether they're the starter, whether they're the manager, whether they're a scout team person. You invest in them because everyone is important, not just as a football contributor, but as a person. And when you have coaches who do that and want to send good people out into the world, that's how you go about making a better world, a better place to live.
Yes, and that's what we're here for. Yes, like you said, I want to win state championships. I want to win every game. But, when you got kids come back and tell you that they're managers of this, or they started their own company. I got a few kids out here that started their own business and making a lot more money than me right now. And that's the things I'm proud of. Not that they're making money, but like they had that courage to go start up their own business, and now they're successful. I got guys in the Army that's over in Korea, that's where they're stationed right now, and things like that. And they will send me a text, "Hey, coach, anyway I can watch the game." Luckily, we got with Aero Sports. I can just send them that link now. Yeah, but these guys, I had a kid text me yesterday, "Hey, I'm by the school. Can I run in and talk to you?" And unfortunately, I was in a meeting, but he just wanted to come and tell me what he was doing in life. And that stuff means a lot to me, that they still want to reach out and come around and be around. And, I want them to be successful in whatever they choose to do. Some of them's going to go in career tech wise. Some of them's going to go straight to work. Some of them's going to go to college. But whatever they choose, I want to have that, especially this group of seniors, I want them to keep that, no matter what hits them in life, that they have that motto: find a way. What would coach say right now? I'm struggling right now. I didn't get the job I wanted. I got declined. But coach would tell me, find a way. Let me dig deeper and keep doing some work, and maybe I'll get that job next time.
We're going to wrap up this show, Coach. One nice thing is we know it'll be an emotional night Friday night prior to the game with Siegel, but it is nice to know there's still football to be played in 2025, and a lot of important football. And it starts against the Stars Friday. We go over to Rockville. We finish up with the battle for Murfreesboro at Oakland. And then somewhere for the postseason, still a lot of football to be played for these seniors.
Yeah, there's a lot of football, a lot of time left, and I still get a lot of time with them. I'm about to be on the practice field with them here in a few minutes, and I get a lot of time with them, and and I'm going to enjoy that time, and I'm going to make sure every moment counts, because I don't want this stuff to end too soon, and I want to be with them as long as I can, and work with them and keep teaching them, keep having them grow as person and people. I wish I could put all these kids out there Friday night for captains, because I think they all deserve to be a captain. And at some point every one of these guys at some point has done something to lead this football team, like you said, whether it's a starter, whether it's a sports staff, whether it's a scout team guy, they've done something up to this team to be recognized as a captain. And unfortunately I can't, but I'm proud of every one of those people.
Coach, thank you for taking extra time today to go over all these seniors for this episode. Folks that are watching, stay with us. We've got a little preview of the Siegel matchup coming up for you. You can watch that at the end of this broadcast. But thanks so much, Coach, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, I appreciate it. And seriously, I really appreciate you doing this. It means a lot to me. You know how much I love kids and love being around them. And just to be able to talk a little bit about each one of these kids and express to them what they mean to me, hopefully that's something that they can keep along with them, and, something they can cherish. Every one of these kids do mean a lot to me. And for us to devote, I could devote 3-4 hours to these kids, but, just to, I know it was long and I kind of got long-winded, but these kids do mean a lot to me, and I thank you for you taking time to do this show for me to be able to express my gratitude to these seniors. Not only gratitude to these seniors, but a gratitude to their families and what they've meant to me as a program.
Well, absolutely, and I want to thank my intern Logan Frank from MTSU, who did some of the graphic work that we'll have in this show with each of the players. I think it'll be pretty nice, and like you said, hopefully something that they'll be able to treasure. And it was really great to be able to share with the public that don't get to see the relationships with these players, spend a little time and share with the public how special they are to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Coach Will Krieski. I'm Chris Bosen. Stay tuned here for the preview of the Siegel matchup. You've got Siegel this week. They're 3-4 overall. The Stars are coming off of a 20-7 loss to the Clarksville Wildcats. Coach, what do you know about Siegel? And they seem to be keeping the scores that they're putting up are much lower. Their defensive scores, they're allowing fewer points. So it looks like this has the potential maybe to be a lower scoring game.
Yeah, they play fast on defense. Coach Renshaw and his staff do a great job, and they're flying around and making plays. And again, they've played everybody close. They haven't been able to finish out some games, but then again, like you said, their defense is really impressive what they do and keeping those scores low. And then also offensively, I think they're starting to get in stride, and the quarterback's playing well and doing some good things. But they did lose a tough game to Clarksville. Clarksville's a physical team it's always a tough team to play. But yes, like you said, every one of their games is close and it's right there, and some of those games could have gone either way.
Yeah, and when you have a team that's used to winning close games, I mean, they beat Cookeville by 3. They beat Stewart's Creek on the road by 3. The Cookeville game was on the road as well. And they beat Smyrna by 3. That means they're never going to think they're out of a game.
No, they don't. They keep fighting and keep going for 4 quarters. Like I said, Coach Renshaw, what he does, his staff, and he's built that there. And again, it's going to be a tough game. Just like we talked about Matt Williams and what he brings to the table. Coach Renshaw does the same thing. And offensively, they're big. They have a left tackle that's highly recruited that you've seen a bunch of colleges come watch, and a bunch of Coach Hyper was there a few weeks ago when they played a game to see their left tackle and to see what he's about, what he's doing. Again, he's highly recruited. He plays some defense up front and gets after you on the defensive side also.
At quarterback, we've seen so many of these dual threat mobile quarterbacks. Do we see another one in the Stars this week?
He's not as mobile as a pass. He's got a good arm, but he can run around. He ran around a little bit against Clarksville, but he's not as mobile as some of the ones from Columbia that we've seen. But again, if he needs to, he'll use his legs.
Well, it'll be a fun night on the 17th as we host Siegel Coach. It'll be a 3-week sprint to the end of the regular season. 3 games in 13 days. That's quite a way to end that regular season. And then, like you said, before you know it, playoffs will be here.
Yeah, it'll be here quick, and again, like you said, three games in 13 days. That's a lot, but again, it's here, and that's what we worked hard for to get to this point and to finish out strong.
Well, I appreciate you taking this time. I know you've got some plans with your family for fall break, so enjoy some of those this afternoon. I'll talk to you again soon, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Coach Will Krieske. I'm Chris Bosen. Remember, Warrior fans, be proud, be bold, be brave, and ever loyal. We'll talk to you again next time here on the Will Krieske Show. Good night.
This is the Coach Will Krieske Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Krieske. This is Riverdale football. All hail.